Tired of bread and stew?
I got my
Had
eye
enough
on you,
of fish and
Nazeem.
fowl? Treat yourself and your kin to a choice cut of steak or a tender rack of ribs.
These fruits and vegetables are disappointing, Carlotta.
I get them fresh from the farms daily.
Indeed,
Nazeem.
I'm keeping an eye on him too, friend.
If you were getting them from my farm, they'd be twice as fresh.
The finest cuts, fresh from
Fresh
the wilds.
baked loaves, still warm from the
Hey,
oven.
Nazeem, I saw you pissing on your fruits and
What do you need,
vegetables.
my friend? Ripe fruit and fresh vegetables for sale.
Ah, yes.
Chops
Just
and
giving them a
steaks
little
fit for a
extra
yarn. Come
fertilizer.
and see my selection of the finest quality meats.
Do you think if the entire town knew you were using your own excrement as fertilizer,
You wouldn't
that
understand
they
the
would
finer
want to buy
points
your
of farming,
tomatoes?
would you? Ah, but that's the beauty of it. They don't need to know.
The finest cuts, fresh from the wilds.
You're a sick one, Nazeem, but that's why I like ya.
Oh, I'm glad someone appreciates my unique
Fresh
approach to
baked
business.
loaves, still warm from the oven.
Tired of bread and stew? Had enough of fish and fowl? Treat
Hey,
yourself and your
Carlotta, how
kin
you
to a
doing
choice
today?
cut of steak or a tender
Ripe
rack of
fruit and
ribs.
fresh vegetables for sale. Oh, same as
Do you
usual.
have anything even...
Trying to sell my produce and keep my daughter from getting into trouble.
I can assure
You know
it's
how
all
it is.
fresh. I hunt the game myself.
As you say,
Maybe you'd like to try the horker or some beef.
you don't prepare the meat with any of those stray...
No elven spices, just some salt to preserve it. You're not afraid of salt, are you?
Vegetables for
I'm not
sale.
afraid of anything. I simply prefer quality merchandise. No, this meat won't do at all. Too much fat. And it all smells wrong.
Suit yourself then. The woods are that way, outside the walls. Walk straight ahead. Can't miss them.
Good day.
I don't know, Nazeem, you don't look like you could hunt.
Still warm from the oven.
I don't need to hunt. I have people who do it for me.
Chops and steaks fit for a yard.
And who is
Come and
that?
see my selection of the finest quality meats.
Unlike some adventurers I could mention. Balgroof's advisor, of course. Someone has to keep the good people of Whiterun informed.
I got these expert hunters with me and we're going out to get some fresh game tonight, but I don't think you can afford the quality meat we're gonna be getting.
From the oven.
I'm sure whatever it is you're hunting, it's nothing compared to the quality of the meat I import from Cyrodiil.
Sloppy seconds from all the way out there. It's no longer fresh by the time you get it. Unlike our meat, comes fresh out of the wild.
Tired of bread and stew? Had enough of fish and fowl? Treat yourself and your kin to a choice cut of steak or a tender rack of ribs. The finest
Fresh from
cuts,
the wild?
Fresh from the wilds.
Ha! I'll believe that when I see it.
Hey Nazeem, I'm gonna bring you a whole deer carcass.
Hello?
Hey Nazeem.
Hello.
Nazeem, look what I got.
Nice weather.
Chops
Open
and
back.
steaks fit for a jarl. Come and see my selection of the finest quality meats.
Oh, how nice of you to bring me a present. Let me guess, a freshly killed rabbit. How quaint.
I ain't asking for much, just a few septums.
How much will you pay for this
Tired of bread and
rabbit
stew?
here?
Had enough of fish and fowl? Treat yourself and your kin to a choice cut of steak or a tender rack of ribs.
All right. I'll give you a fair price for that. Magnificent beast. 10 septums. And that's my final offer.
No deal, my
The
friend.
finest cuts, fresh from
I'm
the
starting to
wilds.
think this beast might be worth more than you got. Hey Nazeem,
Chops
come
and
check it
steaks
out.
fit for a jarl. Come and see my selection of the finest quality meats.
Nazeem, always trying to lowball the prices, eh? Perhaps you'd be willing to part with a few more septums for this fine specimen? I'll
Be
keep watch while
careful.
you show whatever it is you've got.
Tired of
lead
bread
the
and
way,
stew? Had
amigo.
enough of fish and fowl? Treat yourself and your kin to a choice cut of steak or a tender rack of ribs.
Ripe fruit and fresh
Hey, I got some
vegetables
more
for
fresh
sale.
meat for you.
Fresh meat, you say? Let's take a look. Name your price, traveler.
Thank you, my good friend.
The finest cuts, fresh from the wilds.
Looks like we're settled for the night. What's the plan for tomorrow?
Fresh baked loaves, still warm from the oven.
We gotta find some ways to make some quick money.
Chops and steaks fit for a jarl. Come and see my selection of the finest quality meats.
Quick money, you say? I'm sure whatever scheme you have in mind will end in disaster. But do tell, I'm fascinated. What's the plan?
Oh, I ain't gonna tell a dirty little bird like you what my plan is. But hey, if I don't come back, then you'll know it didn't work out, and I'll never have to hear you again.
Tired of bread and stew? Had enough of fish and fowl? Treat yourself and your kin to a choice cut of steak or a tender rack of ribs.
Ha! Oh, amigo, you're on fire today. I think Nazeem's feathers are a bit ruffled.
Fresh baked loaves, still warm from the oven.
Alright, let's get out of here. Let's go do some more hunting, buddy.
The finest cuts, fresh from the wilds.
Vámonos,
Ripe fruit
amigo.
and fresh vegetables for sale.
Let's go catch us some dinner. Ándale.
See you later, Nazeem.
Tired of bread and stew? Had enough of fish and fowl? Treat yourself and your kin to a choice cut of steak or a tender rack of ribs.
It was a pleasure watching you stumble about, as always. I wish you luck on your future endeavors. You'll likely need it.
Fresh baked
You
loaves.
want to say that to
still
me
warm
outside
from
the
oven.
walls?
Outside the walls? Ha!
Ripe fruit
I'm a
and
respected
fresh vegetables
member
for
of this
sale.
community.
Chops and steaks fit for a jarl.
I don't
Come and
engage
see my
in petty
selection of the
street
finest
fights.
quality meats.
Besides, I'm far too important to waste my time on someone like you.
Alright, Nazeem, calm down, nettily diddly doodly.
Tired of bread and stew? Had enough of fish
Oh, I
and
see.
fowl?
So
Treat
now
yourself
you're
and your
running
kin to
away
a
with your
choice cut
tail
of steak
between your
or a
legs.
tender rack of ribs.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Enough of your antics. Leave me alone.
Fresh baked loaves, still warm from the oven.
Alright, Nazeem, I'll see you again when I'm bringing in the freshest produce in
The
Whiteruns.
finest cuts, fresh from the wilds.
Ripe fruit and fresh
I
vegetables
doubt
for
that.
sale.
You're not even capable of growing a decent crop.
Chops and
Let
steaks
alone
fit
bringing
for
in
a
the
jarl.
freshest
Come and
produce.
see my selection of the finest quality meats.
I got my ways, I know magic, unlike you. And I'm talking wild produce.
Watch it!
Tired of bread and stew? Had enough of fish and fowl? Treat yourself and your kin to a choice cut of steak or a tender rack of ribs.
Wild produce? Ha! I highly doubt you know the first thing
Fresh
about
baked
foraging.
loaves,
You're
still
probably
warm
just
from the
going to
oven.
poison yourself with some toxic mushroom.
You better hope so, Nazeem, or you'll be out of business real quick. And by
Chops
the way,
and steaks
I
fit
remember
for a
what
jarl.
you
Come
fertilize
and
your
see my
crop
selection of
with.
the finest quality meats.
Your own fecal matter.
How dare you? My farm is a respectable establishment, and I won't be insulted by a traveling buffoon
Tired
such
of
as
bread and
yourself.
stew? Had enough of fish and
Ha,
fowl?
finally
Treat
got
yourself
ya.
and your kin to a
Have a
choice
good
cut
night,
of steak
Nazeem.
or a tender rack of ribs.
After you, amigo.
Good to see you.
Lead the way to this cozy
Greetings.
spot. I'm famished, and my paws are crying out for a warm fire.
If you're looking for a place to rest, I have a room available above
Tired
my
of bread and
shop.
stew? Had enough of fish and fowl? Treat yourself and your kin to a choice cut of steak
It's
or a
not
tender
the
rack
finest
of ribs.
accommodations, but it's better than
A few
sleeping on the
seconds for my-
streets.
Uppers. All I ask.
Do you hunt?
Yes.
Impressive.
Let's hope our enthusiastic hunter here doesn't bring back any more unwanted surprises.
This is fresh. Yes. Good job. I can see you know what you're doing. Keep at it.
What have you got for sale?
Oh, a bit of this and a bit of that.
Spare a coin for a fellow who's down on his luck.
So you can spend it on drinks at the Bannered Mare?
If it's
Oh,
food you need,
you're
ask for
here.
that
Had enough
instead.
I thought I
Fish and fowl.
smelled something
Never you
funny,
Treat yourself and your
Nazeem.
kin
Find
to
a
a
more
choice cut
charitable
of steak
soul.
or a tender rack of
That's
ribs.
what I thought.
Ripe fruit
Take
and fresh
pity,
vegetables.
sir,
for
and
sale.
spare me a few septums.
Oh, so now you're trying to insult me, hmm?
Isn't that what we do every time we see each other? You're a bit slow, aren't you?
Chops and steaks fit for a jarl. Come and see my selection of the finest quality meats.
Spare
Fresh baked loaves.
Yes.
Still
Well,
warm
someone
from
has
the
to
oven.
educate you on proper etiquette and sophistication. And it might as well be me.
Huh?
Well, you can't have your cake
Tired
and
of
eat
bread
it
and
too
stew?
because
Had
you're
enough of
gotta
fish
be
and
one of the
fowl?
most
Treat yourself
obnoxious
and your kin
pieces
to a
of
choice cut
work
of
I've
steak
ever
or a
met.
tender rack of ribs.
Ripe fruit and fresh vegetables for
Actually,
sale.
I think Eagle Eyes' comment was directed at Nazeem.
Chops and steaks
not
fit
me.
for a jarl. Come and see my selection of the finest quality meats.
Of course I was talking to Nazeem.
Fresh baked loaves. Still warm from the oven.
The finest
How
cuts,
dare you
fresh from the
speak to me
wilds.
in such a manner? I'm a respected citizen of Whiterun.
Well, Nazeem, at least I say it to your face. You should see what all these guys are saying as soon as you leave the city limits.
Ripe fruit and fresh vegetables
Tired of
for
bread and
sale.
stew? Had enough of fish and fowl? Treat yourself and your kin to a choice cut of steak or a tender rack of ribs.
I'm shaking with fear, wondering what the great Eagle Eyes and his cohorts might be saying about me. Do tell.
No, not my
Chops and
cohorts.
steaks fit
Actually,
for a jarl. Come
my
and see my
friends here
selection of
want
the
me
finest
to
quality
stop
meats.
insulting you. But I'm talking about your friends.
Fresh baked loaves. Still warm from the oven.
The finest cuts, fresh from the wilds.
Eagle Eyes. Perhaps we should take Bellathor up on his offer and get some rest. We don't want to cause any more trouble in
Ripe
Whiterun.
fruit and fresh vegetables for sale.
Okay, you're right.
Tired of bread and stew?
You have a good
Had
night,
enough of fish
Nazeem.
and fowl? Treat yourself and your kin to a choice cut of steak or a tender rack of ribs.